An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 2, Section 2566B, disposal of surplus real property.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. If there's no objection from council, if so, please hit your light if you need an item pulled out. We'll do items B through H as a group. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Item B, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone part of a property located at 6010 Dayton Boulevard from R1 residential zone to R4 special zone, subject to certain conditions. Item C, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 506 and 508 Ashland Terrace from R1 residential zone to C2 convenience commercial zone, subject to certain conditions. Item D, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 1001 Market Street from DCX 12 to DCX 20. Item E, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone unaddressed property located in 2600 block of East Main Street from C2 convenience commercial zone to UGC urban general commercial zone, subject to certain conditions. Item F, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 2425 12th Avenue from R2 residential zone to RTZ residential townhouse or lot line zone. Item G, an ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Article 2, definitions, Article 16, downtown foreign-based code, Division 1, introductory provisions, to add a new foreign-based code context area and associated foreign-based code zones, Section 38692, legal requirements, Section 38693, context areas, Section 38694, zones, amend Division 3, rules of all zones, Section 38697, lot types, Section 38698, measurements and exceptions, and add new context areas, Division 16, Chestnut Street and associated zones. Item H, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 2800 Broad Street and an unaddressed property located in the 2800 block of Broad Street, 2450, 2500, 2501, and 2701 Chestnut Street to unaddressed properties in the 17800 blocks of I-24, 1506 Middle Street, 2655, and 2673 Signet Street, to unaddressed properties in the 3000 and 3100 blocks of St. Elmo Avenue and 500 West 26th Street from M1 Manufacturing Zone, UGC Urban General Commercial Zone to CCX9, CCIV, CCX12, and CCPK new zones, subject to certain conditions.
All right, Councilwoman Coonrod.
Move to approve.
Have a motion and proper second. Any comments or question? Councilman Ledford.
Madam Chair, thank you. Phil, can you, on item H, can you confirm we did have the parking addressed under planning version number 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Ledford. Any additional comments or questions? All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, under ordinances first reading, economic development, item A.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 10, Article 4, Sections 1053, 1056, and 1059, relative to commercial property assessed clean energy and resiliency CPACER program within the city of Chattanooga.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Move to approve.
The motion and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Under resolutions, Madam Clerk, item A.
A resolution authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement between Dr. Marcus Malden and the Chattanooga City Council as set forth in the attached Chattanooga Social and Economic Equity Study proposal.
All right. Council, you've heard the reading.
Oh, it's fine.
Want to get it on the floor?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to offer an amendment.
Okay, we want to get it on the floor first?
Yes, move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Councilwoman Coonrod.
I'd like to make an amendment to extend it to March instead of February.
Okay, extend
March the 30th. then.
March the 30th, March the 31st? 31st, okay. Amendment to extend to March the 31st. Okay, you've heard the amendment. Is that in the form of a motion, Councilwoman Coonrod?
Yes.
Okay, you've heard the amendment in the form of a motion. Is there a second? Okay. Okay, any comments or questions about the amendment? All right, see no lights. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, abstain. Okay, we have one abstention for that amendment. Okay, Madam Vice Chair Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make an amendment to the amended version. I would like to add the following language to the scope of work and required deliverables. Quote, "Provide a framework for council to use to evaluate future policy and programs."
Okay, is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, it's been motioned and properly second for this second amendment. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have one abstention. All right, council, is there a motion to move as amended?
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. We have 7 yeses and 2 nos. All right, motion passes. All right, Madam Clerk. Council, if there is no objection, we'll take items B through H as a council, as a package. And council, if you have any questions or comments, please hit your light. All right, Madam Clerk, economic development, items B through H.
Item B, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to award up to $40,000 in home funds to Habitat for Humanity of Greater Chattanooga area to construct a house at 421 West 37th Street for affordable home ownership. Item C, a resolution declaring surplus of the property located at 2904 Taylor Street, further identified as tax map number 137AB009. Item D, a resolution declaring surplus of the property located at 2906 Taylor Street, further identified as tax map number 137AB010. Item E, a resolution declaring surplus of the property located at 2702 Chamberlain Avenue, further identified as tax map number 137AJ014. Item F, a resolution declaring surplus of the property located at 2704 Chamberlain Avenue, further identified as tax map number 137AJ015. Item G, a resolution authorizing the administrator for economic development to sign the second revised and restated lease agreement, Tivoli, between the city of Chattanooga and the Tivoli Theater Foundation, Inc., subject to approval of the city attorney. Item H, a resolution authorizing the administrator for economic development to sign the second revised and restated lease agreement memorial between the city of Chattanooga and the Tivoli Theater Foundation, Inc., subject to the approval of the city attorney.
Okay, Councilwoman Coonrod?
Move to approve.
It's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, item I.
A resolution authorizing acceptance of a donation from Chatham Chemicals and residents of St. Elmo, represented by the Community Association of Historic St. Elmo, in support of Chattanooga Fire Station Number 14 in the amount of $1,275.
All right, council, you've heard the reading. Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. I do want to, are there any members from Community Association of Historic St. Elmo here? Well, hello. Oh, hey, Nathan. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate the fundraiser you all did for our fire department, and thank you for supporting them. We really appreciate it. So thank you. And it's in my district, so I had to stop and give Nathan a shout out. All right. Item J.
A resolution authorizing the revisions to the Employee Information Guide, EIG, Policy 3, Equal Employment Opportunity and Anti-Harassment with related table of contents updates to be effective upon approval.
Okay, Councilwoman Coonrod.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item K, under Mayor's Office.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Parks and Outdoors to accept an award of $2,370 from the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds for the purchase and installation of recreation light timers at the Francis B. Wyatt Community Center's softball field.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and proper second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We've reached our purchases, right, Brooke?
Good evening. There are 10 purchases in your packet for consideration this evening. 9 purchases are recommended for approval, and 1 purchase the administration is requesting a withdrawal at this time. I will read the item into the record the way that's written in your packet, but we would like to request to withdraw the following purchase. From the Street Maintenance Division of Public Works, this is for 2 new blanket contracts for tree removal, storm cleanup, and pruning services. This will be a 4-year agreement not to exceed $214,000 per year. The awards will be made to Lumberjacks Tree Service and Tree Works LLC is the best bid for the city of Chattanooga.
Okay,
That is,
okay. All right, we have a motion to withdraw in a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
all right. The following 9 purchases are recommended for approval. From the Department of Technology Services, this is a sole source purchase for a new 4-year blanket agreement in the amount of $105,000 per year. Harris Computer Systems hosts and manages CityView, which is a product used by LDO and its property inspection team. This application is used for site evaluations, documentation, site recordings, and violation processing. From the Fleet Management Division of Public Works, this is a new blanket contract for Fuelman Fuel Card for CFD and CPD. This will be a 2.5-year agreement not to exceed $215,000 per year. The award will go to Fleet Core Technologies Operating Company LLC, utilizing the state of Tennessee contract number SWC 245-70144. Next, from the Fleet Management Division of Public Works, this is the purchase of 1 International MV607 with brush hog, knuckle boom, and grapple truck for the Street Maintenance Division in the amount of $239,500. The vendor is Municipal Equipment, Inc., and the purchase will utilize Sourcewell contract number 060920-NVS. Next, from wastewater, this is the purchase of an ICP-MS metals instrument from Government Scientific Source, Inc. in the amount of $226,445.04. This instrument will be used to analyze metals in water, wastewater, and biosolids in order to meet the regulatory requirements of various environmental permits issued to the city by the EPA and TDEC. This purchase will utilize GSA contract number GS-07F-5934R. Next, from wastewater, this is a request for an increase of $650,000 on an existing contract with Encode Tennessee LLC for sewer fee billing services. The increase is due to the charges from the credit card processor not being accounted for in the original blanket agreement limit. The increase will result in a new total annual spend of $1,850,000. From the Traffic Operations Division, Public Works, this is a new blanket contract for preformed thermoplastic pavement markings. This will be a 4-year agreement not to exceed $45,000 per year. The award will go to Geico Markings, Inc. as the best bid for the city of Chattanooga. From the Facilities Division of Public Works, this is a new blanket agreement for Delta Controls Building Automation Systems, Maintenance, Support, and Installation. This will be a 4-year agreement not to exceed $150,000 per year. The award will go to Electronic Controls, Inc. as a sole source agreement, and a solicitation was publicly advertised to confirm sole source. From the Facilities Division of Public Works, this is 2 new blanket contracts for paint and paint supplies citywide. This will be a 4-year agreement not to exceed $200,000 per year. The awards will be made to PPG Architectural Finishes, Inc. and Sherwin-Williams Company as the best bids for the city of Chattanooga. And last, from the Chattanooga Police Department, this is a new blanket contract for janitorial services. This will be a 4-year agreement not to exceed $90,000 per year. The award will be made to Metro Janitorial Service as the best bid for the city of Chattanooga.
Right. Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and proper second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
We also have an RFP format recommendation. We are requesting approval to issue 1 RFP, not approval to award any contracts at this time. The Land Development Office is seeking proposals to update the 4 residential historic district guidelines and create a set of guidelines for the city's local landmarks. The local historic districts currently include Fort Wood, St. Elmo, Battery Place, and Figure Place neighborhoods. There is more than one solution to a purchasing issue, and the competitive sealed proposal will assist in choosing the best solution.
Right, you heard the RFP, council.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We've come to, thank you, Brooke. We've come to committee reports. Councilwoman Coonrod. Okay, Councilwoman Byrd, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Knoll.
No report.
Okay, Councilwoman Burrs.
No report.
Councilman Henderson. Councilman Smith. Okay, Councilman Ledford. All right, thank you. Councilman Hester.
We meet today and we meet again in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much. And Madam Vice Chair.
We did have an affordable housing meeting today during which we discussed 2 pilot requests for affordable housing pilots.
All right, thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair.
And just to, if you don't mind, Mr. Smith, Councilman, we did also have, for the record, a legislative committee meeting today discussing a rollerblading ordinance. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Under finance, we have a report on a debt obligation. Can Vicki come up?
Good evening. Tennessee law requires us to report new debt obligations. There's no action required on your part. On November the 16th, the city issued general obligation bonds, Series 2023, through a competitive bid to fund a portion of the FY23 and 24 capital program. The face amount of the bonds is $41,995,000. The bonds were issued at a premium with a true interest cost of 4.203602%. These are 20-year bonds with final maturity October 1st of 2024. It did include $261,085.22 for issue costs, which cover things like rating agency, bond counsel, disclosure counsel, financial advisory services, underwriting, printing, etc. So, do you have any questions?
Yes, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vicki, do we have an option to renegotiate if interest rates were to drop?
I wish we could go even lower. This was great rate, considering.
Well, I know we've seen some lower rates. I've
We
been
have
in
seen
those
a lot lower in the
presentations.
past. This is not the past.
Yes, I
know.
do understand that.
I know.
Welcome to 2023.
There you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Ledford. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you so much, Vicki. We appreciate it. All right, now we've come time to recognize persons who wish to address the council. If you wish to address the council, please line up behind this podium as our city attorney reads our rules.
At the end of each council business meeting, the chair will recognize members who wish to address the council. If you'll line up, the following rules apply to you. Each speaker wishing to address the council shall only be recognized at the microphone provided at that purpose up front. You cannot have more than 3 minutes to speak. The speaker can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority and not on matters which are not under the authority of the council or regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. Don't engage in any vulgar or obscene language nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. And you can address the council as a whole and not make comments towards individual council members. And lastly, do not engage in disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited under Tennessee law. Someone commits that offense if you substantially obstruct or interfere with the meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having given you those rules, please comply with them and go ahead, sir.
John Duncan Avenue, good to see all of you again. I wish it was under better circumstances, and I know that I don't envy your job, as your job is one of the hardest jobs in the city. I recently found out what a city councilor makes, and I realize it's not enough, and that all of you up there are not doing this for the money and the hard decisions you have to make carry out outside of business hours. With that being said, you know that I'm a person of the numbers, that we've had a 3x increase in pedestrian deaths in our city, and we haven't had strong statements coming from our leadership. That we've had police chiefs on air say that one accident was not the pedestrian's fault, when the fact that there are dozens of people here today who aren't even represented on chattadata.com who were hit by vehicles. When I showed up to the accident on Fraser Avenue less than 24 hours later, I was met with the family grieving in the rubble, and they became more than a number to me. As they sat there and wept and I saw blood and biohazard still on the scene, I realized something, that enough is enough. Somebody has to be held accountable for the status quo. I don't think that any of you were here when we had the chance to make this right in 2016. I don't think any of us are to blame for the way that things came about, but I think moving forward, including myself, we are responsible to make changes to make things better. The mayor made a statement about everything that we're doing, and I like that we're doing something. But if what we're doing has brought us to where we are, we need to do something different. You can see I brought a few friends with me this afternoon. A lot of people I don't know, a lot of people I've never met, but I had over 250 DMs, and a lot of those people can't come today because of the tricky timing of the new meeting, and a lot of these people have been here for 2 hours. What we know is that Fraser Avenue is dangerous and it's death wish, and it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. That building has been hit 8 times in 23 years. There are stories in this room tonight of people who've been hit on that street, people who drive 2 blocks to get a taco because they don't feel safe in that area, and that's the crown jewel of our city, the Walnut Street Bridge, dumping pedestrians onto that meat grinder. The problem is Fraser Avenue is dangerous, and the narrative is that this is a freak accident that actually can be prevented with real street design. We can narrow this lane, and we can do it tactically right now. And I propose that we do that. Putting out cones, we own the street as a city, we can take out 2 lanes for the holiday season, we can measure traffic, and I propose that the city council put forth a resolution that the Public Works Department do this. The Public Works Department, who I recorded speeding past me today on Fraser Avenue, the Public Works Department who was parked on the sidewalk on Georgia Avenue where one of my friends got hit on a bicycle earlier this year. You have hard decisions, but this isn't one of them. It's an easy decision, and all we have to do is take the roadmap of what other cities have done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Matt Jackson. I live
I'm
in
sorry.
Hill City.
I'm so sorry. Councilman Henderson, I'm so sorry. You want to address John?
I don't typically talk during public comment time, but I think in this case, and John, I don't know if you're referring to 2016. We did, and is, CDOT traffic guy.
Ben Taylor.
Ben, is Ben here? I was looking for him. I couldn't see him.
No Ben.
I think it's been several years ago now, the city went out over a weekend and did place cones down Fraser Avenue and put it down to 2 lanes, maybe with a turn lane, had some bike lanes to see how the traffic and how the community would feel about it. And Vice Chair Hill, I don't know if you remember that or not, but that may be something that we want to request again, that we, over a weekend, kind of do the same thing that we did 3 or 4 years ago. Is that what you're referring to, John, when you was talking about 2016, when we put the cones out and we?
In 2016, we received a grant to neck down that road, and that administration didn't move forward with it, blaming a lot of the businesses as a result. But I have already 5 businesses that have proactively reached out to me saying they want traffic calming, including Locals Only, including Winderbinder, including Haragogo, and the business that was.
I think one of the problems was it put parking just on one side of the road, and the businesses on obviously the side that didn't get the parking felt like that they would be left out, but.
I personally don't mind walking a little bit further for parking or showing up on a bike if it means my family is safe.
But Vice Chair Hill, you might want to talk with Ben Taylor and about the project that we did is over a weekend, and we just put out cones to get a feel for what the flow would be like. Obviously, no change was made because I think businesses and maybe residents spoke out against it, but now's a different time. Maybe we're willing to accept that now.
And I think it needs to be longer than a weekend to get true traffic studies in there. And I think that you'll see that the density of the North Shore over the last 10 years mandates other more effective forms of transit than just car only and cramming as many cars as we can through an intersection at the expense of the lives of our citizens.
Yeah, this had bike lanes, pedestrians. I mean, it was well thought out, so there's already a design in place.
I want to make sure that the stories get told, so I want to.
All right, is that, Councilman Henderson, is
Yeah.
that it? All right. Madam Vice Chair?
So because you brought that up, I'll go ahead and speak to the now of Fraser Avenue. So I have the privilege of representing District 2 on the City Council, and I work very closely with the North Shore Merchants Collective. We meet for a year, we've met on a monthly basis, and now we meet on a bi-monthly basis to talk about difficult to solve problems on our North Shore. In addition, I hold quarterly District 2 Neighborhood Network meetings where I invite the entirety of District 2 and anyone else who wants to come. Many people from District 1 participate as well. And our most recent meeting on November 9th was with Plan Chattanooga, where we had a robust conversation about traffic safety across the district. So and I actually had a business on Fraser Avenue when the Burke administration was bringing forth the proposal. It was on the heels of a change to Market Street, North Market Street. And I will say, and I have said before, the easiest way to divide a room in half, maybe not this room, but most rooms in Chattanooga, is to ask about multimodal and/or bike lanes. It's fascinating. As a politician, where I go and I knock on people's doors and talk to them, people love them, people hate them. And at that point in time, I think the fear over changing our street pattern won the day. And I agree that in the last decade, the way that we use our streets is very different. And I have seen the conversation change. And in the last 2.5, almost 3 years since I have had the privilege to serve in this seat, the Merchants Association, along with residents of District 2, are asking, how can we use our streets better? How can we make them safer? And so a great deal of groundwork has already been done to move forward with new plans. I am devastated that we have had a loss of life that will be the catalyst for change. But I am thankful that we are not simply being reactive, but that this community has been working diligently to be proactive about these streets. The idea that was brought forth and coned in 2016 may have been a great idea for 2016, but in this moment, I think it's important that we get every idea on the table, that we look at everything, and not just do the quick thing, but do the right thing. And I'm pleased to say that just before Thanksgiving, the RPA reached out to me after our District 2 meeting on November 9th and said, we recognize that the North Shore community is unique within the city of Chattanooga. And as part of the Plan Chattanooga work, that we are going to create an ad hoc committee that will specifically study portions of our community. That was thrilling to me then, and I'm deeply grateful for it on this other side of this weekend. If you would like to stay in the know about the things that are happening with that, please email me at jhill@chattanooga.gov. When I respond back to you saying thank you, that will allow you to be added to my email list so that you will get regular email updates from me. I'm not an emailer, I don't send you tons of stuff, but for example, I have teed up the documentation from the Plan Chattanooga presentation. There's a lot of traffic information relative specifically to District 2 that I think you all will find interesting. And that would allow you to be updated on other District 2 conversations. Thank you, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I would like to make sure that time gets added on to public comment so that people can tell their stories.
We don't have a timer for public
Okay.
comment.
It's 3 minutes.
Okay.
You can just,
So-
thanks so much. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no
You can
problem.
eat. All
So,
right.
I think I'm here for the same reason we all are. I live in Hill City, in Mr. Henderson's district. I live close to Fraser Avenue and saw that crash. Didn't see it personally, but saw the immediate after effects.
Your name?
Matthew Jackson, I apologize. So I think we all know this was a predicted, and easily preventable crash. We could have done something, and we didn't, and 2 people died. We have built, and we want to continue to build, I think, a city that we want people in. And we want people to be there. We want people to provide vibrancy and create community. We want people to stay on the street and spend money, create tax revenue, create jobs. This is incompatible, completely incompatible with what we have built, not just on Fraser Avenue, but on Market Street, on Aquarium Avenue, on Broad Street. Yes. And there's many, many other places in this city where that is the case. We have built 4-lane roads that are completely straight, that do not have any traffic calming measures associated with them, that do not have any pedestrian protections besides paint. That is offensive to me as somebody who has the ability to move around this city. It is dangerous for all of us. Further on, what that does, if we build those things, it increases people's comfort. It increases people's desire to be there and stay there. It increases people's ability to spend their money at a local business and provide that tax revenue, provide that vibrancy, provide that community. What I think all of us and here, most of us here are asking is, we want you to think about where this condition exists. We want you to think about what can we do to make our cities safe for pedestrians? What can we do to make it better for businesses? Because businesses are better when people are in them.
Yes.
So I guess really, what's the city we want to be? Do we want to be a place that cars drive through at a high rate of speed? Or do we want to be a place that people can live in, and people can work in, and people can play in, and people can spend money in and create economic impact? These are well-studied phenomenon, and we need to take the lessons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Emerson Birch. I live in District 9. I'm the president of the Highland Park Neighborhood Association. I'm here today to advocate for action on roadway safety. There's an old adage in traffic engineering that we all know. People don't drive the speed limit, they drive the speed the roadway was designed for. And it's a true statement backed up with a wealth of research and studies that prove that. And that even the other erratic factors of like being drunk or road rage, big vehicles, whatever, intelligently designed roadways correlate with traffic calming that leads to pedestrian and driver safety despite all of those other factors. It's also been repeatedly proven that right sizing and traffic calming has little to no impact on commute times, unless you're speeding. Nearly a decade ago, Chattanooga received a CMAQ grant enabling our city to right size the roadway on MLK and Bailey that John was referring to earlier. Before the right sizing and traffic calming, Bailey Avenue had an average speed of over 47 miles per hour. That's 35% higher than the stated speed limit at that time. Why? We designed a roadway for speed, and people sped. And the old adage is true. People don't drive the speed limit, they drive the speed the roadway was designed for. With the right sizing of Bailey and MLK, we can all see how businesses and communities flourish in that area. I also own a property on Brainerd Road in the Old Town Brainerd District. We all know how harrowing that part of town is. Years before I purchased that building, the on-street parking was removed and on the south side of Brainerd Road. Over the years, the traffic lanes were widened, it was repaved, everything was done to make the old adage come true. People drive the speed that the road is designed for, not the speed limit. Over the past 5 years alone, my building has been struck 8 times. One time an SUV ran through the front of it. Nothing's been done to change anything there. It's TDOT property. We have to stop saying we can't. We have to say, how can we?
Yes.
My insurance premiums are more than a mortgage. Talk about business development. While loss of life is never proof for what we all know to be true, this past weekend reminded us that a lane reconfiguration on Fraser is long past due. A drag race happened because 2 people made very bad choices, but the double lanes, which many residents and business owners have been asking for years to be right-sized to 1 lane on each side and a turn lane, that infrastructure facilitated a drag race. Yes. I will leave you with a metaphor as a guiding principle for how we move forward. If designing and improving safe roadways was a journey, we would all agree that it's imperative that the speed limit be really fast, 100 miles an hour. We want to move fast on creating safety. If the city's priorities, policies, processes, and staffing are the street that we're driving on, it's clear that we need to make serious road modifications. As the old adage goes, people don't drive the speed limit. They drive the speed the roadway was designed for.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Matt Busby. I live in District 9 in Old Town, and I'm a pastor at Mission Chattanooga just down the road on 12th Street. And while this accident didn't happen in a district that I live in or work in, one of my parishioners did witness the accident and stayed on site until emergency workers could get there. And so we are actively caring for her in grief counseling right now. I just want to encourage our counselor and encourage each one of you to continue to do your part to build a city in which everyone can flourish. And this year is becoming more and more clear that what we are doing in street design and road engineering is not encouraging the flourishing of our ever-growing city. For far too long, the values that have determined the street design have been volume and convenience rather than the safety of every Chattanoogan. And as long as that is the case, we will continue to see deaths in our streets. We have papered over these as accidents. However, it is well known by every designer and engineer that the design of a street or a road makes accidents more or less likely. The design of our streets influences human behavior, as Emerson was just saying. And to be honest, our city has known this. We've already mentioned the 2016 plan for Fraser Avenue. There was a similar plan to Brainerd Road, where I live and where Emerson's business lived. The city, for whatever reason, chose not to or could not act on those plans. And since then, both of those places have not only seen tragic accidents, but human deaths since those plans were rejected and not put into place. So not only have we experienced tragic accidents and the loss of human life because of the design and the engineering of the roads, because the design and the engineering of the roads continue to value volume and convenience over human life. And Councilwoman Hill, I just want to comment and say, I heard what you said at the end, that you want to figure out what's right. And I know one of the hardest things in leadership, and all of you know this, is choosing to act and make the first good step. Please do not wait for the perfect plan. Yes. You won't find it. Yeah. Instead, take actions like John recommended, learn from it, make a new decision after you have more information, but keep doing things. Do not wait for the perfect plan, or else we'll still be in this boat 2 and 3 and 4 years from now. Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Nathan Bird. I live in District 7.
All right, hold on, Nathan, for just a second.
You've had great comments. I want to just respond a minute. One of the things that you mentioned, several of you have mentioned, is Brainerd Road. Mm-hmm. Brainerd Road and East Brainerd Road and a couple of others are state highways.
Sure, I know, yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously I don't represent District 9, but further out, we're trying to do a lot of work to fix what you're talking about. I do represent the area around Eastgate. Mm-hmm. Trying to get safe bike lanes, trying to get sidewalks, we don't have the power. Yeah. It's the state apparently, and I think you should know this because the city is doing a lot of good things. Apparently, a million years ago, when Brainerd Road got widened, whoever the decision makers there, were there at the time, gave away all the right-of-way. Right. And so, fight as we may to get safe lanes, safe everything, there isn't the land there to do it now. Yep. Bad decisions, you're right. And John's right about we have to go forward and be thinking not only now, but later. But I think there's a lot of frustration, I share it, about some of the areas that are in fact owned by the state, TDOT. Yeah. And if you've seen what's going on with the freeway and the access roads on either side of the freeway, which is also TDOT, there are bigger challenges for us locally. So I didn't want you to think that some of us are being negligent.
No, not at all. I've been very involved with the conversation between CDOT and TDOT about Old Town Brainerd, and to be honest, it's a runaround, and this is where I think there needs to be more will on the CDOT side, because TDOT will say that they actually were okay with the plan that was proposed in 2017, but the city of Chattanooga didn't want to foot the bill for that, and so there's been a bit of a runaround between the two entities.
I don't know about, I only know about the areas that.
So I'm just encouraging you to actually talk to TDOT about that plan, but it is outside of your district.
I'm sure we all will, but there's a little more to it than just.
Sure. Okay. I'm aware it's a back and forth between TDOT.
I just wanted some reality.
Yes.
There. Okay,
and I do want to point out, in case my friends cannot come up here and comment, your bathrooms here do not have a changing station for babies, so just so you're aware in case they can't say anything.
Okay, thank you. Noted. All right. Go ahead, we're ready.
My name is Nathan Bird. I live in District 7. I would love to spend this 3 minutes thanking you for approving St. Elmo's donation to Station 14, but I'm not here to talk about that, unfortunately. I wear many different hats in this community. I'm a member of the Regional Planning Commission, president of the Community Association of St. Elmo, a civil engineer, and a civic educator. I'm not speaking to you tonight in any of these capacities. I'm here to speak to you simply as a father of 3 young children. I only mention these many roles because through my experience, I'm aware of the challenges and hurdles inherent in changes to both public policy and to infrastructure. I know what it takes. I know it's not easy to design a street, and I know it's not an easy job sitting on that dais, but I know that what we are asking you for is within your power. It's obvious that personal choices played a role in the tragedy that occurred this Saturday. The choice to drink and drive, the choice to drive aggressively. But what is also obvious to myself and many others in this room is that design also played a crucial role. Drivers respond to the spaces around them. Absent any speed limit or absent the regard for a speed limit, a driver will go slower on a narrower road than a wide one. Reducing the number of lanes reduces the opportunity for aggressive passing and weaving. Bollards, trees, and light poles can create barriers to protect pedestrians from errant vehicles. Some engineers shy away from such measures because someone might damage their car and get mad at the city. But I think it's better that somebody dent their bumper than another person lose their life. The council cannot proceed under the illusion that education alone will turn every person on the street into a model citizen. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. What the council can do is change our streets. We have a lot of smart people in this city who are ready and willing to help with this, and there are a lot of changes that can be made on a shoestring budget. And with all these possible changes, how do we know when a street is safe? How do we know when we've succeeded? I can tell you one way that does not require expensive consultants, traffic studies, or engineers like myself. You don't need to ask me. You need to ask a mother walking a young child down the street. How safe do they feel? How tightly do they hold their child's hand, navigating from storefront to storefront? You cannot control personal choices. The city cannot control personal choices. The city can control design, not just on Fraser Avenue, but throughout this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John LaRosa. I live in District 1. I just wanted to say that I recently moved to Chattanooga, and one of the things that drew me to the city was the initial commitment that the city has made to bike and pedestrian infrastructure. And I think as we grow as a city, we're in such an amazing position to take a lead on that and become one of the top cities in the South, and even in the entire country for that kind of thing. And I think that's going to attract more people to the city, more businesses, which is going to bring in more tax revenue, lead to better mental and physical health for all Chattanoogans, and, you know, just like I said, position us as a top destination for both people to live and vacation in the region and even in the country. And I agree with all the specific measures that John and the people before me mentioned and suggested, and I think, like, as the counselor said, like, change is difficult. And it's never easy, but I think it's not a zero-sum game. This is going to benefit all Chattanoogans and drivers as well. And I think that there is data to support that that traffic calming measures are better, not only for pedestrians and people with mobility issues and bikers, but also drivers as well. So I look forward to the city going in a really great direction as we grow, and I really support all these causes.
Thank you.
Good evening. Shannon Lanier, District 2. My family and I live a block away from where the accident took place on Forest Avenue. As a resident who drives through that intersection multiple times a day, I stand to be affected by any modifications that may be made to Fraser Avenue. So I came here today to state my support for traffic calming modifications that could be made to the North Shore District. Whatever inconvenience, perceived or real, may be experienced by an adjustment to the current traffic flow is far outweighed by the improved experience and safety of the commercial district. Because of the frequency that I engage Fraser Avenue, I know not to use the Woodland Avenue intersection on foot or by car because of the number of times I've seen drivers blow through that red light. I also know to pause for a few moments at every intersection after the walk signal or the green light comes on to allow time for distracted or hurried drivers to pass through. When I walk along Fraser with my children, it is not a relaxing experience because I've been fearful of exactly what happened this Saturday. This heightened awareness is unfortunate, and I wish it wasn't necessary, but it absolutely is. And in an area that is a destination because of the walking bridge, it's time to make this pedestrian destination pedestrian-friendly. I don't know what an appropriate traffic calming measure would look like, and I'm not here to propose one. But I can imagine an unintended consequence could be a reduction in the noise that comes from the vehicles that race during the night. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Councilwoman Hill. All in all, I just want to say that I can imagine a substantial and meaningful change to the current traffic flow will not only positively impact one of our city's most iconic destinations, but also bring even more value to the neighborhood, our community, and the thousands of visitors we are fortunate to be able to host in our hometown. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Friends, neighbors, I'm Cody Dahl. I live in District 8. And I come to you in a city that I think is at a breaking point. I think you've heard stories. I think you see people ready to tell you stories about that. I was hit on Main Street on a bike, and I'm handicapped I might heal. I have a friend whose mother was nearly killed on Cherokee earlier this year as well. And in both cases, it was an accident. It was incidental. Someone made a mistake. And that is humanity, as others before me have said. I come to you with, I guess, that emotional plea that humans make mistakes and our infrastructure should protect us from them. I treasure the overtures that the city is making towards walking and biking. Every time a new bike lane is painted, I'm one of the first people to commute on it on my way to work. But paint is not infrastructure. And my friend's wife can't ride her bike. She doesn't want to leave her infant motherless. She doesn't feel safe. So many of my friends don't feel safe to ride in the city, and so they can't. And so I guess I'm just here before you to plead with you to make hard decisions and have those hard conversations, because we want to live here. And it is so tragic that what it takes to assemble this room is a mother and her child dying. And I just hope that you will all act decisively in the places in the city that you have jurisdiction over, leadership over. And I thank you for the fights that all of you have to fight to make that happen. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Will Temple. I'm a resident of District 7. I live on Market Street. I certainly relate to the issues that have been discussed about traffic being out of control on Fraser Avenue, because I experience the same thing every day on Market Street, which is also out of control, whether it's drivers failing to yield to me in a crosswalk or drivers pulling into crosswalks as you're crossing. It's treacherous. For a period of time, a couple of years ago, I biked every day across the John Ross Bridge to get to the North Shore, and I had to stop because it was just not safe. That bridge is a death trap. And we heard earlier about bike lanes in the context of a discussion about rollerblading. I just wanted to offer my comment that bike lanes are not safe unless they're physically separated from drivers. That is the bare minimum for me to consider these bike lanes usable. If we cannot put up barricades between the road where people are driving, sometimes at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour through the middle of the downtown, these bike lanes are not viable. So I encourage you to take the advice and to consider the advice that was offered earlier about doing the minimum viable thing quickly and iterating on it. You know, what we see so often, in my experience of living in various different cities around the US, is cities will try something and maybe it doesn't work as well as they had hoped and then give up. And what we need to see is you could put out barricades and cones next month and change the design of the street every week in response to what you're seeing. It doesn't have to be an all or one thing. We don't have to do everything all at once. Please don't allow perfect to be the enemy of the good. And that's all I had to say today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan Burkett. I live in Fort Wood. I'm here for myself as I'm a very frequent walker. I walked to this meeting today, but I'm also bringing some insights and experiences of some people who couldn't make it to the meeting today. My boyfriend is an ER nurse, and he frequently treats patients who were struck by vehicles. A few of those accidents ended up being fatal. And obviously those experiences are really tough on him. And when he comes home, it becomes tough on the both of us. And I really can't imagine how difficult it is for the families. He has pointed out that these accidents are getting more frequent as it's getting dark earlier, and he's anticipating it's going to continue to get worse. But again, he had to work today, so he wasn't able to come and bring you that insight himself. I have a teacher friend who's worried sick about her students who walk to class, again, because it's getting darker earlier. But even the students who ride the bus, as they're crossing the road, we have a lot of wide lanes and empty spaces on either side of the roadway that encourage really fast traffic and encourage really aggressive passing. And so if you're passing a car that, or if a car is passing that doesn't see the bus, even her students who ride the bus are at risk. She has a lot more insights and statistics, but again, she was working, so she wasn't able to bring you those today. I personally work as an educator at the Tennessee Aquarium, which is a very pedestrian-dense area. And that's where I spend a lot of my time, and me and my friends spend a lot of our money. But it's also a place where I've almost been killed about 4 or 5 times on my way to work. My personal opinion with that is that we have too much street parking. It goes way too close to our crosswalks, and as I try to step out, no one can see me. You know, you can only do so much peeking. Thankfully, I was able to get someone to switch shifts with me today so that I could come and tell you this myself and represent other people. But basically what I want to emphasize here is that your constituency has a wide variety of knowledge and experiences that we should be able to bring you. I agree with John's suggestions that were presented, but I feel like we're playing catch up right now based on a really tragic thing that already happened. And in the future, I would like it to be easier for us to collaborate as a community on fixing problem areas before they claim more lives. Because I can tell you that pretty much everyone in this room and a lot of the people who couldn't be in this room today because of work obligations, they all have a problem area in their neighborhood that they could talk to you about. My boyfriend, when he says he's talking to victims' families, almost every time, they'd say, we knew this was going to happen at some point, or we were afraid this was going to happen at some point in this area. So again, we have the knowledge and we want to work with you and we want to collaborate to make things safer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jenna Azuz. I'm a resident of District 2. I live in Heritage Landing. I live maybe half a mile away from where the accident took place, and I was on Fraser Avenue when it happened. I didn't directly see the crash. I was in a store, but I saw the commotion outside. I went outside and, you know, I witnessed everything that happened afterwards. And I had been riding my bicycle, guess where? On the sidewalk, because there is no safe place. It is not safe in the road to ride your bicycle. Paint is not infrastructure. I'm not an avid cyclist. I'm just a girl who likes to ride her bike to class, you know? It's not safe for me to be in the road. It's not safe for anybody to be in the road, but especially someone like me. I don't go very fast. I'm not very strong. So when I was riding on the sidewalk, maybe 30 minutes prior to the accident, what if that had been me? And I had to see that horrible incident and just think to myself, you know, what if it had been me? What if it had been someone that I care about? I've been in Chattanooga my entire life. I graduated from the Baylor School. I go to UTC. I love this city so much, and so it's just really horrible to see all these tragic things happen. Me risking my life every day, my little sister who I can't protect when she's in her car, her risking her life every day just by being out on the road. You know, members of my family, my friends, my classmates. This is horrible, horrible timing, but I just did a presentation in a class at UTC about how car centricity is bad for us. It's bad for our physical health. It's bad for our mental health. Pollution, collisions, physical inactivity, all of these things that seem to be uniquely American epidemics. But I'm not talking about America, I'm talking about Chattanooga. This is the city where I live, this is the city that I love. And I'm seeing, you know, threats everywhere that I go. It's difficult to exist in a place where you feel like you can't even leave your house without risking your life. And what the tragedy that happened on Saturday is just proof that, you know, how are we supposed to leave our houses knowing that that could be us on the sidewalk just on a Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, enjoying the day with our family? That could have been any one of us. So I just want to reiterate that something's got to give, and it needs to happen now. It needs to happen yesterday. We cannot continue living like this. People cannot continue dying, being injured. 42,000 deaths on U.S. roads every year, and that does not even compare to the number of injuries, which is between 2.5 and 5 million on U.S. roads every single year. So something's got to give, and I hope that something changes soon. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Byron Spencer. I live in District 2, but not downtown, more out towards Hickson area, the Fairfax Heights neighborhood. I've lived in Chattanooga for a long time, over 20 years, and I used to commute on a bicycle in Chattanooga because I couldn't afford a car when I first moved here, and it's extremely dangerous. I rode on the sidewalk. As soon as I could buy a car, I stopped riding a bike to work. But, you know, there's all kinds of problems in this city. I've seen so many fatal accidents just driving to and from work for years. I see people along my daily commute. I see a person on a wheelchair every morning, you know, in the street. There's no sidewalk, trying to get to a bus stop, and I'm tired of it. And I was already having a problem with it, and then, of course, what happened this weekend was just awful, and, you know, it obviously has affected a lot of people, and I think we can do better. I know we can do better. We've done better. Like, for example, Dallas to North Market, you know, that used to be a 4-lane road, and it became a much safer, nicer road after they eliminated one of the lanes, and I don't think it cost anything. So it was just, you took an existing road and you just changed the usage of the lane. And the city has jurisdiction over tons of streets like that. And so it seems to me like something that we can do. So we should do it. And that's why I'm here, is to show support for that, to fix the roads. And that's it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Todd Bickerstaff. I live in District 7. I live in the Stockyard townhomes, and I face Broad Street. And the second day that I moved in, I heard these roars coming down out of St. Elmo of cars, much louder than fire engines that come by. And I was taken aback. You know, I called the mayor's office and the police department and asked, you know, where are the police? These people are going 60, 70, 75 miles an hour. And then I made a mistake one day trying to cross Broad Street in the crosswalk in front of the Taco Bell. People tried to gun it to run over me. Not slow down because they saw a pedestrian, but hit the gas, okay? So I'm too old to be a policeman. If I were younger, I would volunteer. I'm a native here. I was born here on Lookout Mountain. When I used to go down on South Broad Street, you would get a ticket if you were going 10 miles over. You know, it was just a matter of time. I filed many complaints. I have yet to see any patrol cars slowing traffic down. I also am very pleased to say I'm retired and I get to bicycle tour in different parts of the world. And I have been hit by a car. It's been ambulatory. You know, I lost a joint in my right elbow. So I'm sensitive to cars and to my own safety, and it breaks my heart to see what happened here this weekend. I don't want to compare our city to other cities, but it's hard not to because we've on the cover of Outside Magazine twice as an outdoor city. But really what brings in the revenue are shops, retail, and restaurants into the inner city, like a city that came here, I think in 1998, Greenville, South Carolina. Their city council and mayor's office came here and they were blown away. They had a silent city. It was a dead downtown. If you go to downtown Greenville, South Carolina, it's, I would say, there's one car for at least every 50 people walking. And the average speed, I was just there for 5 days, is 5 to 7 miles an hour. Because it's too cool to look around than to speed through with road rage through downtown. But let's talk the love language, okay, which is money. Think about all the money spent in a town half the size of Chattanooga, at least their downtown district, that could be going to the municipality and to police salaries and all this. We should have a full city just like we have down in the waterfront, all the way to the south side.
Right, Todd. Mr.
But, man, I'll tell you one thing I don't do. I don't ride my bike on South Broad Street to the city. I haven't done it in 2 years.
All right.
I get on the Greenway.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I love my city, and thank you. I can't wait to talk to you. We got a lot to talk about.
You
But,
get everybody gets 3 minutes.
I would just charge all of you guys to take a long weekend.
Everybody gets 3 minutes. Now,
Okay.
I'd love to
I'm
talk to you
sorry.
after the meeting, yeah, but it's, everybody
Go
gets
to
3 minutes.
Greenville.
All right, thank you.
Go take a weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, it kept right. You're doing good.
Hi, my name is Chandler Hunter. I'm a father to a 7-month-old baby. This is my baby here on my phone that I'm holding. I pull up my notes here. So I'm also a husband to a stay-at-home wife. I'm a member of North Shore Fellowship, a church that's 1 block away from where the crash happened. I live in North Shore in District 2, walking distance from where the site of the crash was, where a mother and a baby were killed. When I heard the news from my wife, my heart sunk because I knew that easily could have been my own family. Because on a daily basis, my wife, sometimes with and without me, walks with our baby from our home to Fraser Avenue, sometimes to go to the park, sometimes to check out the businesses on that street. We spend a lot of time walking on that street. Just 24 hours before the crash on Friday, the weather was very nice, and so my wife, child, and I were standing in the very spot where the mother and child were unfortunately killed in a crash. And despite doing nothing wrong and violating no laws. And living in North Shore, walking along Fraser, my family feels even less safe than we already did, which is arguably the most pedestrian-dense area of North Shore, frequently full of families and children just like mine. No amount of economic growth in the area provided by the current state of the street is worth more than human life. My family is opting to no longer walk on Fraser, but instead drive to the park, which would further congest the traffic on Fraser. Also, we will no longer be walking in front of the shops that we would otherwise possibly be spending money at.
Yes.
We do not need more conversations or debates or committee meetings or education because none of those things could have stopped an uncontrolled vehicle, but a steel bollard possibly could have. This could not be more simple. The most pedestrian-heavy street in North Shore needs to be made safe now and not a few months from now and not a few years from now. Thank you.
Hey, Council. Corey Evett, District 5. Here with a couple of hats on tonight. First and foremost, as a member of the CARTA Board of Directors, I just want to let you know what a privilege you have here to have so much feedback. I'm here primarily to listen because there's clear opportunities and honestly failings on the part of transportation in Chattanooga. And it's harrowing and it's informative. And I just wanted to say to you all that we need to have more conversations between us in terms of public transportation. We clearly had a person in this case that shouldn't been behind the wheel of a car that maybe could have ridden the bus. We clearly have folks that within our current infrastructure or lack thereof should not be pedestrians. They should be on buses. So we need to do the best that we can to make those buses better. And I can assure you that I am, and I want to invite everyone in this room that is clearly passionate and knowledgeable. I'm doing a lot of work with the new board, and coming January 25th, we're going to have a public meeting, and I would invite every single one of you to be there. So, but now I'm going to take that hat off, and I'm going to put on my dad hat. I'm fortunate enough to live District 5 right across from District 6, and I get to walk my stepdaughter and her friends to school at Barger Academy. But as you've mentioned, Brainerd Road is something else. And one specific incident, I mean, I can tell you personally, I've been almost hit numerous times, but there was one occasion where I was walking with my stepdaughter who's in 5th grade, her friend in 5th grade, her sister who is a kindergartner. We were walking across Brainerd Road and someone taking a right turn off of Northmore almost hit us. Now, I can't begin to tell you how terrified those girls were that morning, and myself included, but also the look of horror on the driver, because obviously he does not want to hit these children. And what I'm saying is we are creating environments. We have policies and design in place that is not just creating victims, it's creating killers. We need to not only empathize with the folks that are victims of these tragedies, but the families, the perpetrators themselves are not always, intoxicated. Sometimes these are honest mistakes, and they are a result of very poor design. And in the case of Brainerd Road, too, I want to, while we're on the subject, Councilwoman Burrs, we are very fortunate right now that the sidewalk infrastructure that's been put in place that I'm very thankful for has had a lane closed. And I can't begin to tell you what that's done to slow that traffic there. We need to be measuring that. We need to be looking at, is traffic still moving as well as it could be? Have the incidents gone down? Like we know the start and end date of that infrastructure. And we need to measure that and take it to the state and say, hey, look, when this was in place, those, apologies.
Cool.
I'm wordy. I'll follow up in an email. Thank you all. And again, invite all of you to see Cardiff.
Good evening, my name's Stephen Grummels. I live in District 2. Like a lot of other people here probably, I was attracted to Chattanooga back in 2016, much to do with how wonderful the walking bridge and the whole North Shore area was. And now it appears that a family that has been destroyed that was there to do the same thing, enjoying that very same area, and it's tragic. But everybody here has said a lot of great things about the right things to do in this standpoint. But I want to, at the risk of sounding a little cold, I want to just talk about money. And now I don't go down Fraser Street or Fraser if I can avoid it. So the very thing that brought me here is now a very disappointing thing to go experience, and I try to avoid it. And further to that, there's a lot of people in here today that are not out spending money. I'm a small business owner. I closed to be here at 3:30 today. So that we're paying the cost now, and we have been paying the cost now of the situation we're dealing with. And we have an upcoming deadline looming with the closure of Walnut Street Bridge. That's going to drastically affect how pedestrian and vehicular traffic move in the area. And so the time to act is now, like so many others have said. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Connor. I'm from District 2. Me and my wife lived in Chattanooga for 3 years. I live in North Shore. I walk on Fraser Avenue. I bike there. And I don't have a story of a close call anywhere in the city, but I do have experience of what Chattanooga could look like. I grew up overseas in Hungary in a small town called Diósd. And from the age of 6 to 18, I walked to school every single day, unsupervised. Often there and back twice in a day. And you might think my parents are crazy for letting me do that as a 6 or 7-year-old, but I assure you they're not. You might think that they have very low speed limits there. They don't. It's nothing special. You might think that they have police everywhere to keep the streets safe. They don't. What they do have is roads that are built to slow cars and to keep pedestrians safe. And I would love for Chattanooga to be a city that could give all of our children the same experience that I was granted as a child, which I feel has made me more independent and a stronger person. I get the feeling that there's a lot of support on the council for a lot of the things that have been said. So I don't feel like I can add much to that. But what I do want to ask is that if there are legitimate barriers to making change in the city, that you let us know what they are so that we can all together, working together, create change. So I just ask that you keep us informed, because it's not fair for us to come up here and talk and then go home. It's going to take time, and I just ask for communication and for y'all to let us know what the concrete steps are, because myself and everyone in here is committed to making this change, and we would like to know how to do that. Thank you.
Councilman Ledford, did you have a statement?
Madam Chair, I was just going to ask a quick question. I know that the mayor's chief of staff is in the room. There you are, Jermaine. So no question for you. I just want to point out that I know the mayor isn't here, but maybe the mayor could watch some of this, because I know we have another term that he's wanting to seek. And I know that, I say that in all seriousness about priorities. And I'm listening to some incredible, heartful and soulful, genuinely loving people about our city coming out of District 2 and others. I see you out there. But this is serious. And I said a little bit about it at 3:30. And John, I'm glad you're here at 3:30, because you get to hear more about what we talk about up here. I think you can relate better to us because we care. I promise you, brother. I mean, I'm hurting, you're hurting, everybody's hurting. And we got to do this together. And I'm seeing it in your faces, and I'm hearing it in your hearts, and you're using your voice. And I appreciate you, and I thank you, each and every one of you, for being here tonight. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Ledford.
You vote too.
All right.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kel Kesmerick, and I'm a member of District 7 in Chattanooga. I'm a student at UTC. I live downtown, and my favorite part about it is the walkability that I have to campus and different shops and restaurants and other friends' apartments. While I have a car now, I did not for the first year that I lived here. I had to walk everywhere, and I still walk to class and work when I can. And because of this, I've almost been struck by cars multiple times. My friend, whose car broke down and hasn't had the funds to get a new car for many months now, has also had the same experiences. And I fear for his life when he tells me that he's simply walking to work downtown or to another friend's apartment. These experiences have changed the way I see driving, because now I try to be a lot more aware of pedestrians. That said, it's just the facts when I say that the way our roads are designed do not encourage drivers to be slow and cautious. I would like to see the city that I love become a place where those without cars, or just those who choose not to drive to save money, or just because they want to walk outside, can do so with comfort and safety. What we need are traffic measures that encourage slower and thoughtful driving, such as speed bumps, roadside vegetation, and bike lanes and sidewalk barriers. We need to value the lives of pedestrians over the convenience of vehicles. With all that said, I agree with the proposed changes mentioned earlier. We need change now, even. You know, if it's something temporary, it just needs to happen now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi, my name's Katie Shirley. I live in District 2. I don't have a big fancy speech prepared. I'm just here as a mom who's scared. I have moved my family from a block about a block away from where the crash was to farther out into Hickson because my number one job as a mother is to keep my children safe, and that was the only way that I could do so. I have a son in heaven, so I've already had to have one funeral service for a child of mine, and it scares me that I've stood in the exact same spot that family stood. I hear that you care. I just would like to bring up the point again of urgency that I hear there's meetings and bi-monthly meetings and that this, I believe that that you care and that this is a serious issue. I just would like to bring up this sense of urgency because someone brought up earlier about the holiday season, but there are babies right now out there walking on those sidewalks, and we can't wait months and months for solutions. I just hope that urgency plays a role in decision-making.
Good evening. My name is Gino Wallace. I own a business in the North Shore on River Street. I'm also a representative of the North Shore Merchants Collective. As Councilwoman Hill mentioned earlier, she has been diligent in working with 50 business owners within the North Shore in hearing our voices, hearing our concerns, which are your concerns as well. And I have full faith in our council and in our city government that they will make the appropriate changes. Councilwoman Hill has, again, worked diligently in creating a task force within the city government as well as the businesses within the North Shore. I would like to request that any remaining time that I have left be added to the next speaker. This is the brother of the current victim that is in the hospital. Adolfo, DBA.
Good evening. My name is Adolfo Divia Paz. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. This is my first time at Chattanooga City. I'm here because I lost part of my family last Saturday. When I received the notice from the accident, I was in Colombia, and I imagine the accident was in the highway because this is something happening. When I came to Chattanooga City, I saw the accident was in Fraser Avenue. I can believe that. I can imagine it could be in a normal crossing on the street. So I know that city council don't have the power to change minds, to control crazy drivers, but you have the power to create the safe environment, to create a safety streets, to create sidewalks, because it's not the sidewalks on Fraser Street. This is not real sidewalks. They don't have the protection, right? So you have the power to honor my family. You have the power to prevent other accidents. And this is ask you to prevent other accidents, please. You have to invest in create traffic signals, create this safety sidewalks, create safe crosswalk, and speed time or speed hand. So this is my request, please. You have the power to change that situation, because the reason because my family chooses to extend their holidays is because Chattanooga remembers our country. Chattanooga is a beautiful landscape because you have that beautiful mountains, the beautiful waterfalls. My family, especially my brother, enjoy the waterfalls. And a lot of people spend time to Chattanooga, to visit in Chattanooga, because you have beautiful landscape. So please, my request is create safe environment. You have the power to change the situation. It could be happening again. So thank you for let me know this situation, and thank you for express my ideas in this room. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Will Jones. I'm a resident of District 6. I have two small children, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I've grown up going to the walking bridge all my life, and now I take my kids there at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, and I hope that they get to enjoy taking their children there as well when they grow up. I also commute on East Brainerd Road, so I'm familiar with the sort of things that pedestrians and cyclists have to do to navigate that space, cheating death whenever they want to use a crosswalk, or when they have to go to the shoulder of the road because there aren't sidewalks. But in my time in the North Shore, I am always aware of the speed of the cars passing my children on the sidewalks as they look in shop windows, as they play on and they try to do the dance steps that are embedded in the sidewalk there. 4 years ago, my wife and I witnessed a cyclist on North Market Street using the bike lane be clipped by a truck that was driving too quickly. Luckily, no one was seriously hurt. The truck lost a mirror and the bike was damaged, and the rider was badly shaken up, but it could have ended in a death very easily. It was only good luck that it did not. I would support any change that would encourage traffic to move in a slower and more considered way down Fraser Avenue and in other parts of the city that pedestrians and cyclists need to navigate in order to make it to work or simply to enjoy this beautiful city. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jenny Jagodich, and I am very proud to live in District 2 in the North Shore area. I live off of Tremont and Manning, so I'm right smack in the middle, and I did not see the crash but heard it. I was outside with my cat, and unfortunately it's one of those things that you can envision even if you weren't there. And you know, I've lived all around the US, and my mom will call me in Alaska when I'm there and be like, hey, I heard there was an earthquake hundreds of miles away from me, and I'm always like, that's, you don't have to worry about me, Mom, I'm not there. And then this time my mom calls me and is like, hey, are you okay? Because I walk down the street every day. I live in a walkable neighborhood on purpose. I want to be able to walk to the grocery store. I want to be able to, I volunteer at the theater center. I want to be able to go there. My niece is 3, and I love being able to walk out my front door and walk down to Coolidge Park with her and be able to go get an ice cream and just, it's like a small little European town, we have that in the North Shore. And I know that that's unique to Chattanooga. There's a few other spots where that exists. But like, I grew up down the road in Dalton, and North Shore Chattanooga is where was my goal of where I wanted to live when I was a teenager. I was like, that is so cool. And I live there now, and I'm proud of it. But there's some things that have to change, and soon, which is why I asked the city council to vote on a resolution to keep pedestrians safe on Fraser this holiday before any permanent things are put into place. Things have to happen now, whether they're permanent or not. I always hear when we ask for change that there's not enough money, here, that, and the other. I don't know how this stuff works, but I was here at 3:30 and I've heard several millions of dollars mentioned to be spent on this city already. I love our festivals. I work for Friends of the Festival. I'm a bartender, but I would rather have less nights of riverfront nights, and Fraser Avenue and other similar similar blocks be safe for people. It's a friend of mine in high school at CCA got hit by a bicycle on North Market, and that street he's one of the reasons there's bike lanes there now, but they're not being maintained, and there's no partisan in between. There's, like so many people have said, paint is not infrastructure, and where you want to talk about education is not going to help unless the right infrastructure is in place. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Gerritsen. I live in District 9 in Highland Park, so I wasn't very close to Fraser Avenue, and I don't spend a lot of time on North Shore, but I can speak to my experience living and interacting in other parts of Chattanooga. I go to school here. I've only lived here for a few years, but one of the reasons that I chose UTC was that I visited some friends who went here, and I realized that there was a whole type of city experience that I had never had before. Because where I grew up, there's no bike lanes, no sidewalks. You have to have a car. And I was lucky enough to be able to have a car to get around in that type of environment. So when I came to Chattanooga, it seemed like this whole better, different world. And I realize now, after hearing the perspectives of fellow citizens who see a better future for Chattanooga, that just because this is better than nothing in terms of walkability and accessibility, in terms of bicycle lanes that are protected and public transport, that doesn't mean that just because this is a step up from nothing that it can't be better. And where I'm at in life, thinking about where to go with my career once I graduate, this is something that's really important to me personally, and I know it's really important to a lot of other students and other young professionals. Chattanooga has the potential to be something great. It already is something great. But I would encourage y'all to use this tragedy as, like you said, as a catalyst to change not just this one street or one example, but to change how we make policy in general and what we prioritize in general. I heard a comment earlier about it being a very divisive issue when we talk about bike lanes. And as somebody who's very new to cycling, when I hear people, drivers, when I myself as a driver have gotten annoyed or frustrated with cyclists, that sort of feels like one side of a coin, but it's really not, because the emotions that the drivers feel and their stance is out of convenience, and they don't want to be inconvenienced by these cyclists. And as somebody who's now a cyclist and has witnessed and experienced different close calls around Chattanooga, I'm not inconvenienced by drivers, I'm afraid of them, because they threaten my life and they threaten the lives of other cyclists, some of whom, as we've already heard, it's not by choice. They're not choosing to go out and walk or cycle because it's enjoyable to them as it is to me, but because it's all that they can afford. So I also want you to take into consideration who is most at risk with the decisions that we make and who is going to be most protected, because it's going to protect all of us, to protect pedestrians, and it will help all of us, but it's an easy way to protect those that are most at risk. I saw that on the way here. I walked here from a friend's house. There are 2 instances on MLK that I passed of a sidewalk being shut down and no alternative being offered. And who's most at risk there? The people that literally live on MLK. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ezra Nichols. I live in District 7. I grew up in Chattanooga walking and running on the Riverwalk. It's a part of the city that I love. And I could cross 3 pedestrian-only bridges downtown on a regular basis. But at the end of the 3rd bridge, Walnut Street Bridge, the safety and security I would feel up until that point would end, and I would often turn back. My drive to work is less than 10 minutes, and I would love to ride my bike to work, but that is currently unimaginable with the roads now. We want a city that is built for the people, not the cars. Any part of the city I admire is a part of the city that is built for the people. Any part of the city, other cities that I've been to, are the parts that are built for the people. A city that puts people first, pedestrians first. Thank you.
Good evening, Hayne Kim, District 2. My husband and I have had the privilege of living in North Chattanooga and calling it home for the better part of the last 2 decades. We've lived on Tremont, Mississippi, and currently live on Forest Avenue. We walk, run, bike, and drive through the Fraser Forest intersection daily, and I am here to support traffic calming measures and lane reductions on Fraser Avenue, and ask that the council pass a resolution to solve this problem before the holidays. We stood on that very corner less than 4 hours before that accident occurred. We had said countless times before that something terrible was going to happen at that intersection. And it makes me very sick that it took something terrible to happen to bring me before you today. Fraser must be dealt with immediately, but we also currently have multiple developments planned on Tremont Street that will bring more residents and with them more cars. Tremont is an already crowded street where cars are parked in bike lanes. Construction often closes down one lane, forcing cars into opposite lanes, and sidewalks are broken or blocked. You can multiply that problem by several dozen all throughout North Chattanooga. Not only that, the increased traffic has caused smaller, narrow streets throughout North Chattanooga to be used as cut-through. I live on one of them, Sylvan. As our community continues to grow, we must not only take into consideration pedestrian public safety, but also actually take action to make sure that growth doesn't come at the cost of our safety or our lives. So thank you. I appreciate swift action, please.
Good evening. My name is Anna Murphy Martin. I live in District 3. I really don't have much to add. I wanted to agree with the proposed changes, swift action, pursuing good versus perfect. But I also wanted to take a moment to specifically name the victims from this weekend. We've talked a lot about them, but I think it's important to make sure we say their names. And they are Anna Poso, Jonathan Devia, and Octavio Devia is still in the hospital. So I just want to take a moment of silence for them. Thank you.
Karina Miller, District 1. I used to live in the North Shore area on Tucker Street, right up the hill from Fraser. I grew up there. I walked to this meeting from Cherokee Boulevard, passing the aftermath of the accident on Fraser. While growing up on Tucker Street, cars would regularly go double the speed limit down our residential street. Many of the surrounding streets had no sidewalks. Wheelchair users were forced onto the street by sidewalk obstructions, and they were met by angry drivers honking at them and violently swerving around them. It is absurd that such a beautiful city, with something as unusual and impressive as our walking bridge, has intersections that are not safe for pedestrians, street parking that blocks our view, our bike lanes are patchy and unprotected, in residential areas, our sidewalks are broken and absent. And through all this, getting to that famous walking bridge that people come to visit our city for becomes a life-threatening ordeal. I agree with the proposed modifications to Fraser Avenue. Please act quickly.
Good evening. My name is Asiana Gita from District 2. I live in the Hickson-Ely Road area. And for those of you who know the area, that's a really hilly and sharp road. When we requested the expansion of CARTA to Ely Road, we were told Ely Road was too dangerous for the bus to even go on. Every day I bike to work, and every day is a close call. My spouse tells me, please be safe. My bike is a Class 2 vehicle, which means it's capped at 20 miles per hour, while the cars around me are asked to go 45 miles per hour. I feel so vulnerable commuting to work every day. 1 to 2 years ago, Ashland Terrace got a sidewalk, and riding on that during my commute is so freeing. I'm really proud of the small wins of infrastructure that the city of Red Bank and city of Chattanooga have had, but I want to see more urgent action, more opportunities for people to feel free when they are commuting to work, to essential services, and to recreation. I agree with the proposed resolution, and that's all.
Good evening. I'm Will Levenway. I live off of Brainerd and work at Christchurch Episcopal right off the UTC campus. So I'm aware of the safety concerns that often can go in with our roads. Pulled students out of the way, off of the street before someone takes a turn too quick, and there's no curb to stop them before they get on the sidewalk. I've done all of that. But also, I have had to try and talk some of our homeless folks into going to a hospital and into calling an ambulance when they've been hit by a car that doesn't stop, that no one seems to care about. This is not just a question of safety, important as that is. It is also a question of justice. The same way in which we want affordable housing that's not cheap, because people have a right to live somewhere clean, somewhere beautiful, somewhere inviting. People have a right to a city where they feel those things too. It is not simply a matter of safety, it's a matter of our care for the least of these. All of you are up there because you feel at some level a duty to do that. And I believe that you can. As someone also who gets up and preaches a sermon basically every Sunday morning, I put a lot of faith in the idea that education is going to do at least a little bit. But I also know the difference between talking about feeding the poor and about getting somebody to build the food pantry and the way that that shows up. I believe that you can do that. Not only do I work in a church, I'm an Episcopalian, so that means I'm very much practiced in the art of committees and of budgets and of bureaucracy. I know it is a tool that you can use. I know that it does not have to stand in the way of you pursuing that justice. So I'm not going to give you a million safety things to do. That's not really my game. But I would simply remind you tonight, if I can, that it's more than that. It's about caring about these people who are vulnerable, these people who maybe they would get hit by a car, and their solution is to stay still until they can get a cane. Or to come to me, of all people, and see if I've got any Tylenol. I don't think that's acceptable for us. I don't believe that you believe that. And so I would simply ask you tonight to use those tools that you have, to use those committees, to use those bureaucracy, to move that money around, to make something happen. Because the people of Chattanooga deserve a city that is beautiful and a city that is just. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sherry Douglas. I live on the North Shore on Cherokee Avenue. And the reason that I'm here today is I am a victim of what can and does happen. I was in the crosswalk by Leroy's on Cherokee Avenue, Cherokee Boulevard. And this was just this past March. And I was hit by a minivan while in the crosswalk doing 40 mile an hour. And I am a miracle to be here. That is a fact. I thank Erlanger and the folks at Erlanger every day for what they have done for me. I have 32 plates and screws in my body. I'm 62 years old and never broke a bone in my body until this time. This car was doing 40 miles an hour, threw me 20 feet. I also want to say two other things that I have witnessed and seen on Cherokee, right near there. There was a motorcycle rider just killed recently, about 2 months ago. Young man, 27 years old, was killed right there in front of the apartment complex. And about 2 months ago, we also had a car come through and hit the actual apartment building. So that's all within the last 6-7 months. It happens way too much, and I know you're well aware of that. And I appreciate you all being here and taking the time out of your day to listen to us, because I know it's a long day, but I appreciate it very much. And I agree with you. People here do want to see change, and they want to see something happen, and that's why they're taking their time to come and talk to you. And it's very important that we all work together to make something happen. I am not actually from this area, but I love being here. I've only been here since 2019, and I love being here. But I agree, something has to happen so that things get better and safer for everybody involved. It needs to happen soon. and quick. And one suggestion that I have is even if they could, just until something permanent is put in place, if they could possibly even put more police presence, even sporadic times and days, just to pick up on what's happening with the traffic. I know myself as a person that drives, when you see a cop car, what's the first thing you do? Hit your brakes, right? Even if they could see that once in a while, I think it may help slow things until we can come up with something permanent. Thank you for your time. Have a nice evening.
Hi, my name's Leah Peterson. I live in North Shore as well. I'm actually neighbors with Sherry. And we were extremely distraught when we heard the news about her crash on Cherokee Boulevard, because we walk there every day, multiple times a day. We enjoy riding bikes on the Riverwalk. And I do think it was, not surprising to hear that news about her getting hit by a car. Also, living in an apartment complex that you walk out onto Cherokee, it is a horrible experience to have to go, the chaos of Cherokee to get to our wonderful parks and our wonderful and beautiful river. It is something that sometimes discourages us from leaving the house. We switched apartments to a quieter part in the building just to get away from Cherokee because of the noise 24 hours a day of cars going extremely fast down that road. I think everyone has made excellent points tonight, and I wanted to reinforce two things, and that's that I think there are a lot of people who want to help. And I know I would be interested in performing walking and biking audits. I basically do that every day. Happy to get some folks together and, point out these areas that we experience daily and we know are just an accident waiting to happen. Thank you so much for staying late and listening to everyone today. I'd also just like to reinforce that please do something quickly. Don't wait. Please take action. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for one step in the right direction. Just please do something.
Hi, I'm Chaney Lanham. I live in District 4. And I used to work at a salon both on Gun Barreled and Fraser. And the amount of, just car crashes I've witnessed is just, it's terrifying. I don't like to drive anymore. On Fraser is where me and my husband had our first date. It's where we had our first kiss. So down on North Shore, it has a lot of, it means a lot to me. Like I said, it's where I got my first big girl job at the salon. And I just loved seeing everyone coming in and just being happy. But walking down the street there is terrifying. You could feel the traffic rushing by and pulling you like you're in a water current. And it's just not welcoming. It's really not. And I agree with everything that John said. We need to take action now. When is enough? Please put people over profit. We all have lives, we all have stories, and I believe we all want to continue with that. I live near Heritage Park now, and my son is going to be old enough to start working soon. And he has his eye on working at Brewster's Creamery near in the park. He wants to ride his bike to work there, and I'm the bad guy for telling him no, he can't do that. The sidewalks on East Brainerd are atrocious, and even the pull of the current with the traffic there is awful. Multiple times we've walked to Heritage Park, and it's terrifying. And I just, please, do something to make living in the city a better experience. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Margaret Jones. I currently live in District 5, although I'm on Addison Road, which straddles 5 and 9. However, I was actually born and raised in this town, and at the ripe old age of 37, 38 in a couple months, I have now lived or worked or had friends or family or dated somebody in all of the districts and county in the area. So I'm familiar with, you all represent me, is what I'm saying. And I actually moved away from this town in 2004 with no intention of moving back. But life events brought me back here in 2012, which I still didn't intend to stay. I was just gonna be here for a summer and then leave. But what I found was that in 2012, everybody I met in working here that summer were other young people who had moved here for the outdoor scene, and for the new gig, fast internet, work remotely, all of that was starting to take off. I started to hear about really cool things were happening in this city and saw that things were starting to change, and here I am, years later. All that's to say is that, calling back to what Mr. Bickerstaff, I think his name was, mentioned about us being on the cover of Outdoor Magazine 2 different times for being the best outdoor city. And again, this city has marketed itself as an outdoor scene. Many people have moved here and continue to move here. I don't have to tell you the numbers, for the outdoor scene. People want to spend time outside. And yet we continue to see that as this city has grown and become more dense, which has many benefits, and our infrastructure is changing to accommodate that. Our highways are under construction everywhere around here. The infrastructure to support the pedestrian density and the outdoor activity has not advanced in tandem with the rest of that growth. And while we're all here today pleading for you to do something, and we hear, those of us who were here at 3:30 heard Councilwoman Hill's proposal to change the language for this outdated law. We all witnessed how slow the bureaucratic process is, because she merely wanted to change some outdated language to allow rollerbladers to be permitted to rollerblade in a protected lane and not get ticketed for it. And what was the result of that? Councilwoman Burrs wanted to pick apart the language, and then there was the education component, and then Mrs. Dotley, you wanted to spend several weeks to consult your constituents. All that's to say is that it takes time. And
everything does.
But we need more direct action.
We want to respect the person behind you as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Savannah Ward. I am a resident in District 1. I am a UTC graduate student. I work full-time at CARTA. I'm always involved in the community. I'm in Leadership Chattanooga this year. Best class ever, yay. I'm a board member of the Young Professionals of Chattanooga, so I really care about what is happening here today. I also travel through Fraser Avenue every single day. I enjoy walking the bridge and going to Coolidge Park on Sundays, like so many others. I enjoy grabbing coffee or ice cream on Fraser with my friends. I also come as someone who has traveled to several different countries. I have lived in Japan before for several months, and the only way to get around was by using public transportation or walking. I can tell you I never felt scared there. Everything, they did a great job of designing their cities. I am an advocate for walkability and public transportation, and I feel like I have seen ways that Chattanooga can be better. Not to say that they're not good, but ways that they can be better and to make our city safer and more accessible. Additionally, I want to note that the Walnut Street Bridge will be closing at some point in time, and the parts of the RPA has conducted a pedestrian and bicycle count and has calculated that over 6,000 vulnerable road users were counted at Fraser and North Market Street. So when this inevitably does change, the bridge change or closes, pattern will change. And so that's something that's unpredictable to us right now. And I think that's very scary looking forward of how people travel who are not in cars in that area. And something that we need to look forward and invite people to the conversation to help mitigate any accidents that could happen there. I also want to note that I think as I work with CARTA and the public transit, I think that our organization should be involved in these conversations, these biweekly, monthly meetings, whatever they are. I think that's very important for us to stand in those meetings and provide input. And I also just want to share that I support what the others have said before me. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jonathan Smith. I live in District 8, right on the edge looking over Georgia Avenue. And instead of repeating what everybody else has said, I think everybody else here has had amazing emotional stories and experiences. Similarly, I've almost been hit, but I'm sure that we've heard some much more impactful stories from that. And also, I want to thank absolutely everybody for saying more succinctly and a more informative manner the steps that we could take. And I really appreciate you guys doing that and doing the work that I could never do. And I just want to repeat and say that I support absolutely everything that's been said. Of course, it's about infrastructure, but it's also understand it's going to take time. Like you said, like everybody said, this is going to take time regardless of whether I wanted to or not. Of course, we'd want this all to happen in a day, and obviously that's just not going to be the case. So in the meantime, I would like to take a moment to think about everybody that's not here, because while this is, of course, really important for Fraser, and like some have said, broad, and where I'm at, Georgia and Patton, is absolutely atrocious. If you ever have to walk through there and try to cross over and see people swing in. This is a citywide infrastructure issue. So all the people that can't be here because they don't have a car, not because they choose that they want to bike to and from a place, but also because they simply can't. And I know several. And they don't have access to a bus line. They have to get rides, Ubers, stuff like that. They don't know these places, that this is even happening possibly. So I'd like us to keep them in mind as well. But of course, focus on Fraser, at least for the time being. And in the meantime, overlooking Georgia, I noticed there's a parking lot. And I stare at this every night. So in the meantime, while we're setting up these barriers, hopefully, if we get what we want, maybe we can consider the really hard truth of all of these drunk people I watch come from Cherry and Patton Parkway every night into this really just this perfect parking space, this perfect parking lot, and they scream out of there every single night, all throughout the night, and possibly consider something that we could do about that. I'm not going to propose I know exactly what to do about it. I'm not saying we shut down the bars, but it's just something to consider because I think there's a component to this accident that we're missing right now. And I'd like to keep that top of mind as well to reduce the amount of accidents or the lethality of the accidents while we wait for physical barriers. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Natasha Heaney, and I live in District 1 with Councilman Henderson. I wanted to mention I was excited to hear you say trying something like putting barriers back up to see what happens with traffic, to see what that would do for Fraser. And I would love to see that on Cherokee. I live right off of Cherokee. I used to live in apartments closer towards the central area. Now I live closer towards the tunnel. And I am terrified all the time. And so I've been really emotional hearing this news because that could have easily, been any one of us. I wish it was no one. And I came across and saw the minivan on the side of the road after it struck the woman that's up here. And I honestly didn't know how that had ended up. And I'm so glad that she survived, but clearly there were grave injuries. And that's not the first time I've come across a wreck. Luckily, I haven't witnessed anything. I am so thankful I haven't, but like someone else said, you can just imagine. But there have been numerous times where I've come up on debris, like people's things, their stuff, their items from their bike, while there's still police on scene and the person's already been taken to the hospital, but I see that on Cherokee all the time. And I really hope there can be change. We've found ways to walk on the train tracks even to avoid going around Cherokee over to get back to the area by Signal Mill and Renaissance Park. We avoid roads anytime we can because we've almost been hit. So I would like to ask that, Fraser so much needs care and attention, but Cherokee does it well as well. There's so many businesses by Sluggos, Pizza Bros, and there's not enough across that road. They're not at light generally. You have to walk like half a mile to get to a protected cross. And people come out of that tunnel going like 70 miles per hour because it's downhill. And they're excited about that and they're racing. And I hear that at my house. And I hear that when I lived at my apartment complex. And so I really hope there can be some change on Cherokee as well because that's becoming a really popular area. And we have so many new apartment complexes and new townhomes going in that area. So I hope that there can be some attention there. I really could see something horrible happening there as I've seen it before. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Lynn Weldon. I live in North Shore, like right off of Tremont. I've walked past the place where this accident happened every day. I'm a bike commuter. I bike across the bridge, all of the bridges, like once or twice a day. It's crazy. And yeah, all of these roads people have been mentioning, like truly like just now when we had the recess, me and my friend were biking on Main Street and got yelled at for biking. It's just, there's been a lot of emphasis on like the dangers and the fear we all have of like commuting in the city, not using a car, but I also think that there's a really big opportunity here as Chattanooga continues to grow. Like the growth is not going to be sustainable if we're focused on car-based infrastructure. We have to be focusing on pedestrian and bike infrastructure. Not just for people like me who, bike really hard all the time, but like for people who maybe don't feel that comfortable but want to bike the couple miles to their job or to their house or to the grocery store, it should feel safe. Kids should be able to bike to school. I see some kids biking to school like on my road, but I'm always a little worried about them because I'm like, are you safe right now? But yeah, all of this has been said. I just wanted to make one really specific comment about the walking bridge in particular, because it occurs to me every time I cross it into downtown that the pedestrians and cyclists are yielding to cars. When you know what I mean? Like when you bike across the bridge or you walk across the bridge, cars don't stop. Like the traffic doesn't stop. And I was talking to one of my friends about that, and he said it's for like traffic patterns or something, but that seems like a really simple way we could like make a commitment to prioritize people over cars, because that is a mild inconvenience to stop. And, people are coming from all over the country and the world to enjoy this beautiful city where you can, walk in North Shore, walk across the bridge, go to the aquarium. They don't need to rent a car to enjoy that. They can stay and walk, and it should be safe and prioritized. So yeah, I just wanted to make that specific comment about that specific intersection. If anybody has any information on someone I could talk to about that, I'd love to do some organizing as well. I know y'all have a lot on your plates, so thank you for listening to all of us. And yeah, thanks everyone for speaking.
Thank you so much. Right, I just want to thank you all so much for coming and sharing your voices with us, and Madam Vice Chair Hill.
Thank you. You guys, that was 39 people. Surely there's one more that would make it even. No. One of my colleagues mentioned that hopefully Mayor Kelly will watch this and mention the reality of elections and voices and if I were running for mayor, I would be very excited by this. And I represent District 2, and I'm very excited by this conversation. Obviously devastated by why we're having this conversation tonight. But a key thing in representation is using your vote, using your voice to vote. Our elections are pretty awesome because they are an off-cycle, nonpartisan election. So you don't have to worry about if you like the way somebody votes on abortion or if you think they should have an open border. This is not what it's about. It's about running our city for the people who are here. So I've gotten 3 emails from people who want to be engaged with me with District 2 based on my earlier announcement, which surprised me. I thought I would get more. I got many emails and phone calls today, but tonight I thought I'd get more. Social media does not win elections. Votes win elections. So keep that in mind as you think about how we change our city. I think that this is probably the largest body of voices that this council has potentially ever heard related to multimodal transport and pedestrian infrastructure, and that's really important. So the next thing is we got to keep walking our feet to public conversations. I appreciate that you all want to be involved in those. And when the time comes, make sure you vote, because if Mayor Kelly runs on a platform of multimodal infrastructure and people don't show up to support that, you'll end up with the opposite. And the same goes for some of these other, everybody on council runs at the same time. And if you've got a 50-50 split on whether multimodal is important or the sign of the beast, then you got to get there to vote. So thank you all so very, very much for being here tonight and changing the conversation around how we travel around our city. I appreciate it.
What's your pleasure? Meeting adjourned?